So it's the Grape Explorer talking about today. So if you follow us on our YouTube, we usually have a segment that is called The Past, the Present, and the Future. So I want to talk a little bit about my past. So as I think I told you, I was a history major. I graduated from Florida International in Miami. And my final thesis that I had to do to get my history degree, I had to write a thesis on the history of Cuba. And I wanted to at least show you the map of Cuba. And this was kind of an interesting area because most of my classmates at FIU were actually Cuban. So I became very not only fond of the culture of Cuba and Cubans in Miami. I really wanted to dive into the history, so I really studied a lot. But what I came away with was the fact that there's only really two products which keep Cuba going. One is sugarcane and the other is tobacco. And if we look on the map here, you can see that this area right here, which is very famous for sugarcane production and is considered the mecca of rum production in the world. And we also have on this side, the eastern side here, this is all tobacco here. So these are two crops which, of course, the Spanish brought. This was a Spanish colony, and but it's got a very interesting history. But one gentleman who I have to say, obviously one of the most famous people was Christopher Columbus. And his goal of what he actually told the King of Spain, I will discover the new world and I will find gold. And it was the ultimate thing, because obviously the King of Spain wanted gold. So he financed Columbus on his trips, but of course he never found gold, especially in the Caribbean. But coming through the years, there's other people who were in search of gold, and we want to zero in on this company right here, Bacardi, because this was started by Don Bacardi Masso in Santiago de Cuba, and he came and emigrated to Cuba from He emigrated from the Catalan region of Spain in 1830. He came with no money, but he was a wine merchant, which was interesting. That's my little bit of history. But his goal was to seek fortune and fame. And of course, he emigrated to Cuba. What he did, which was really unique, and at that time, he married into a very wealthy Cuban family. So obviously, there was a bit of money to start this operation. But he bought a distillery in 1860, and in this area right here, Santiago de Cuba. But what he did, because at that time, rum was not very good. It was actually, it was called aguardiente, and it was very bitter. And of course, sugarcane production is the key, because you take the sugarcane and then you blend it down to make molasses. But what he did was they took a special strain to make their rum and blend it in with the aguardiente to become very, very smooth. This changed the course of history in rum, and of course, the fortunes of the Bacardi family. And basically, what they did was, which was very, very bright, they started changing the pot stills to copper stills. They completely, made a very, very unique rum. And of course, rum is the most famous thing in the Caribbean, but this was a very, very bright family. They did some very innovative things. They also immigrated to Puerto Rico, and how smart that was, because when they immigrated to Puerto Rico, they did not have to pay tariff. And of course, we hear the problems today of tariffs being, coming in and being applied to different spirits. Now think about the vision of the Bacardis actually basing themselves in Puerto Rico so they could avoid the tariff in America. And also, the second thing that they did was they planted their office, also major headquarters of USA, right in the heart of New York, in Manhattan. So Bacardi headquarters located there. But what did that actually do for them? Well, they decided to take their rum and very, very smartly make a cocktail called Cuba Libre. Now, if you've ever remember back in the 80s, and I do rum and Coke, think about Coca-Cola being a staple part of American society as far as drinking. But blending it in with rum, well, that blew up the company. And of course, you know, they became super powerful, and we'll get into a little bit of their power. But right now, they are the leading independent merchants of spirits in the world. I mean, they are a global economy. So when I said that Christopher Columbus was looking for gold but could not find any, Bacardi struck gold, because look at this. They created a rum which is called the gold standard today of rum, and that's how these people have launched their company. But today they are just unbelievably, just super big, and they give back too, because living in Miami, they built a beautiful center right on Brickell, which is called the Bacardi Center, and it's a museum. And so they're very, if you want to say, you know, they give back to their culture. But let's just say where they really have succeeded in the last number of years is their acquisitions. So they bought Grey Goose vodka for $2 billion, and now it's who knows how much that's worth. And it goes on and on. I mean, you know, the acquisitions that they have made, you know, in Scotch, and it's just an unbelievable family. But today that family still exists here. So we want to zoom in here, because this is their 8-year-old, and we call it Añejo, which is aged 8 years in oak, and it's a different blend of different rums. But at the same time, yeah, this is manufactured in Puerto Rico, so it's no longer a Cuban rum. But we give you the background because, you know, obviously when Fidel Castro came in, they had to exile the whole family, and the Cuban government took over the whole Bacardi plant. So think about this. I mean, you know, most companies, if you're told just to get out and you have to leave Cuba, which is in the 1960s, how do you overcome that? But the Bacardis were very, very bright people. And I mean, just to set up shop in Puerto Rico and make, without a doubt, probably the #1 spirit in America. So hats off to them. Hats off to my Cuban friends down there. I know that this is where, you know, Cuba really made their bones making rum. But this is beautiful. Since this 8-year-old, you get a lot of that butterscotch, beautiful flavors. Let's taste it. And that's the Bacardi secret, because this is just very smooth and elegant. I've had some rums that really, you know, really very spicy, but this is just a beautiful, beautiful product. Again, this is a Grape Explorer. I want to talk a little bit about history of spirits, as well as in wine, but to talk about a powerhouse company, Bacardi International. Cheers.